Hello, welcome to the Two Guys One Spread podcast, episode number 5. I'm Joe.
With Tom.
Tommy's here.
I'm back.
We are ready to dive into some of the stuff that's been going on in the world of sports and go down a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, thanks for holding in while I played a little virtual golf the other day.
No problem. I was too excited. I had to get some out. How'd you hit them?
Not too bad, not too bad. There's no wind, there's no rough or sand or anything. So shoot like a 39. It's good, but it's like there's and no putting. No putting is huge.
Yeah, big help.
Yeah,
big. Golf's easier when you're not putting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're gonna lead off with the big story. I mean, how often in the world of sports is like hockey like the big story? But
exactly,
it has been awesome, and the ratings have been high. I've been hearing all sorts of people talk about hockey that don't normally talk hockey.
Right.
Seems like the NHL may have gotten something right. I'm sure they'll find some way to mess it up or screw it up, but at least for now they definitely got it right. They got the matchup that they probably want, right?
Yes. Is this the best thing to happen to any sport in recent memory? I mean, hockey is not ever talked about nationally. It's just not. I know we love it here in Buffalo, and but it is just not a national sport. And it is, you got Schefter talking about it. You go to PTI, it's leading. It's the first story.
I heard Rich Eisen was like, my phone was absolutely blowing up, and he was thinking like it's all sorts of other things, and then he's like, 3 fights in 9 seconds, and blah 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 blah, and I mean it's worked out. I mean, I think Rich Eisen said it. He was awesome. He's like, as fans, we want to know, and we at least want to feel that the players care, right? You know what I mean? Like, I know fans that get mad at other football players, like when their team loses, and afterward they're exchanging jerseys and all of that stuff. And it's like, some fans don't like it, even though those guys, a lot of them went to college together and they work out in the off season. So it's like, of course they want to win, but like look, I say it all the time. I like UFC fights a little bit more when I actually think those guys hate each other. Right. Like when I feel like they really hate each other and they want to like seriously like kick the crap out of each other badly, like I kind of it gets me a little more jazzed. So I think that's what he was saying, like the emotion in the games, and it shows that they care compared to the all-star games that we get.
Right. I think what really helped, I mean, I think the game was amazing on its own, but the NBA All-Star going on at the same time, and if you happen to change channels, you saw like a dribbling drill, and guys just it's going through the motions. They got to be there. They're not doing anything. They don't. I know. Play.
I've always said, like, I like the NHL skills when I feel they're trying. Right? Like 2 years in a row, McDavid's gone 4 for 4 on the accuracy, and you're just like, dude, that's insane. If you've ever tried to shoot a hockey puck on ice, you're like, that's incredible that they can just do it. But then you get other guys that are just like you said, you're going through it. I got to be here. I'm not going to hurt myself. Clearly for this tournament and the chance to play for their country, like that's not a concern.
Right. Well, you had USA losing on Monday. They rested a lot of players, and then you had Canada holding on to get the win. Goaltending again, a struggle for Canada.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, I saw some AI video of Connor McDavid, and he was just like absolutely like
blasting. Those are the best.
Plastic Bennington.
The best use of AI right now is those fake interviews.
Yeah. I mean, they're seriously hilarious. Like it was super funny. I was like, this is great. So,
right. So what do you think about the game coming up? What do you like? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm not as comfortable as I really was going into the other one. Losing McAvoy. I mean, I know he's in the hospital, but it doesn't sound like there's any chance that he's going to play. That's a that's a big deal to U.S. I mean, I'm assuming both Chuck brothers come back and they're going to play.
Right.
Man, I as much as I want U.S., I just have a bad feeling. Although sometimes I get negative like that, and I have these bad feelings in games I care
That's every
about.
Bills game for me, so I get it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think the U.S. if they can continue to if they could get by without McAvoy. I mean, if they could get by holding that fort down. I know there was rumors that Quinn Hughes was coming, and now I guess from what I read, he can come, but he can't play unless they lose another defenseman. Like Canada lost two defensemen, and that's why they were able to bring someone up. The U.S. isn't in that situation, so although he could come, I don't think he's eligible to play.
Right.
Listen, if they could play really good, strong defense, I like their chances to be able to put goals in on Bennington. I just don't. I don't think he's consistent or strong enough.
Canada scored one goal last game against a USA, and I don't know if that's something we can look forward to again.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, there's been a couple moments in that last game where McKinnon really seemed to pour it on and pick it up a little bit. I mean, everybody knows McDavid. Right. Crosby is still a tough grinder, smart player type guy. I mean, he makes plays. I think the U.S. is going to have to really capitalize on the chances that they get. I expect them to be outshot. I expect Canada to control the puck a little bit more. I mean, hockey, we know it's, like in baseball, right? Like you can't have a pitcher dominate and a goaltender can't do that. So there's that chance. I think, obviously Canada is probably embarrassed, even though it's nothing
that's my
embarrassed
opinion too.
about.
I feel like USA just came out and just punched them in the throat. And I don't know if they didn't expect that kind of emotion, that kind of physicality from the USA in that game. And, now I'm just worried that, they're prepared for this now this time.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll say this, Canada needs to get some scoring, right? From guys other than maybe those top three guys that I named, like Reinhart, like some of these guys need to chip in. Marchand has to put something back. Like, I feel like the last little bit, it's been a lot of those bigger names. And I mean, with US, you got Larkin chipped in, and I think for top two lines, I feel like US has the talent too, and that they can match them. But I think if Canada is going to win, I think that's what they're going to have to do. Or maybe I know there hasn't been a million power plays or anything, which is probably good for the game and, letting it go a little bit. But I think Canada's got to, find a way to get a couple goals, maybe besides from, those top dogs. Right. But it's gonna be awesome. I mean, I can't wait to see the
most hyped hockey game that I can remember. I mean, Game 7s, we've had Stanley Cup Game 7s. No one's really talking about it.
Yeah,
but this game it's hyped, and it's gonna be exciting.
It is. I agree. I mean, even when the big market teams are in there for hockey, I don't think it's getting the kind of eyeballs that this has been getting. So
yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Yeah, I know.
Let's switch topics here to some football. Everybody loves the NFL. We got some old quarterbacks that are going to be available this year, and we're wondering who would you rather have out of these three quarterbacks? They're old. They have not proven one's proven he still could play a little bit, I guess. But we got Stafford, who's still under technical contract, but it's not guaranteed. So it's, basically no contract. And we got Wilson, and we got Rodgers. Who would you rather have out of that group?
I think the tricky part of the quarterback carousel that we may say is, though there you have the draft picks, right? And then you have some free agents, and then you some younger free agents, and then you have some of those guys. I'll be honest, I can't imagine any scenario where I want Aaron Rodgers. I don't want his attitude. Right. I don't want the money that goes with him. I don't want his mouth chirping in on who to sign because, he does it whether he wants to admit it or not. And to be honest, his numbers weren't horrible. I can't remember the last time I looked at a game and I was just like, whew, man, Rodgers is controlling the game.
Right.
Like so I wouldn't want any part of him. Wilson, I think with the right fit, he can be effective. I'm not sure. Again, this is the tricky part with quarterbacks is I don't know. I don't think Wilson's beating 3 or 4 good defenses in a row. Right. So
I thought Wilson had a decent fit in Pittsburgh, and it started out all right, and then kind of fizzled.
I mean, I guess it goes back to this. I've had this conversation with friends before. Is like, and this may be different for an owner versus a GM, right? But like, am I looking to compete, be competitive, maybe get some a playoff game or two, or am I legitimately trying to win championships, right? Because those things are different, right? Like, I mean, I'm a Seahawks guy. I have zero faith that really Geno Smith is winning me enough to, beat 3 quality teams and bring home a Super Bowl in Seattle. But I do think he's talented enough and experienced enough to make us stay in the hunt and compete for a division title in an okay division and stuff like that. So I guess that's kind of what it depends on the team and the owner, right?
I think there's a limited market for these guys. You don't want to, the Titans is not a team that would, I know they're probably going to draft a quarterback, but say they weren't. They're not interested in paying one of these veteran guys. They're just not there.
Correct.
So you have a team like the Jets who you thought was perfect. This is a perfect scenario. They had talent everywhere. Defense, offense, you thought they were a quarterback away. They go get Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he has the Achilles injury, but then he comes back this year, and he wasn't terrible, but he
wasn't in the games I watched. He friggin' wasn't far from terrible though.
Yes,
I mean
he wasn't winning you games, and that's what you want on a quarterback, to win you a couple games, and he was no difference than the guy they had the year before.
I know record wise.
Yeah.
Same as Zach Wilson, who at one point looked he was terrible. I mean, I had so much Garrett Wilson that season, and I watched Jets football, which is kind of disgraceful.
Right.
And I mean, it was a nightmare. He was awful, but then Rodgers came back, and they were essentially the same thing. I mean, I think for a team like the Rams, like I don't think Stafford's going anywhere unless someone's going to make some really bonehead trade to come and get him.
What do you have? What do you have besides him? I mean, you got $35 million is actually a steal for a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and you got a team that can play.
Right.
What are they getting that's better?
Right.
You know what I mean? Unless they really want to look towards maybe, Fields or Darnold and say he's the guy of the future, right? They're not getting any place that they can draft somebody better. So, I don't know. Unless some team, and there are some, bad teams make bad moves, right? Like the Giants, who knows if they
the team
make
that
some
interests
weird...
me is Cleveland. They have the number 2 pick. I believe they have the number 2 pick. I could be wrong there, but I believe they do.
It's got to be up there. So,
I mean, I'm drafted a quarterback if I'm them. But if they don't, and they go just straight talent, wide receiver, whatever they go, they're still a talented team. I feel they got talent on that team, and they could use a Wilson or a Rodgers and be more competitive.
I mean, if they have to trade away Garrett, I'm not. I think
that's true.
I think their talent starts to diminish a little bit, and I, I I always feel if you don't have a quarterback, then you have nothing in the NFL. So if I was them, I would be taking a quarterback,
Right.
or I would be making a run at. I mean, I don't know what their cap situation is, right? But I would be making a run at one of these young, I guess, guys that are possibly out there, right? But I'm not over like any team that's going after or Darnold or Fields or even Wilson. It's like I think the conversation has to start with I'll pay you some money, but I'm not going crazy. If that's it, if that's the case, then I will draft a quarterback, in the first or second round and take my chances that I hit something good. Because if you have to pay any of those guys $50 million, that's
Well,
I don't know where they're going.
right. Watson, they owe so much money still to him. I can't see them paying a lot of money, so they probably can't even afford to go out and get a Rodgers or a Wilson.
Yeah, how much is left on Watson? Two,
2 more
three.
years, and it's
Oh,
basically guaranteed money because they restructured his contract the day, it's the Saturday before the season started, and you're like, oh, maybe they're going to go out and get a stud player or something. They didn't do anything, so they just basically renegotiated his contract for no reason, and it even hurts him more salary cap wise. So they got 2 more years, and I believe if say they wanted to cut him, which they'd be doing what Denver did with Wilson, they'd be
yeah.
eating $55 million a year or something like that.
I mean,
Unless you
honestly,
just want him off your team, which I do get. I understand that.
or how about this? What if they freed up some cap space to make a move at Justin Tucker? Now
Justin Tucker, that's
Now,
yeah,
now they can have both massage guys on their team,
right, right. Yeah,
right?
Cleveland's they have no problem bringing in these guys who loves just to have loose, relaxed muscles.
Tommy, we've been to some interesting places in Cleveland.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
maybe if they bring in Tucker, they'll have the most relaxed team
Yes.
of all time.
They say when you're playing relaxed, you're
Yeah.
gonna play good.
Well, those guys, I mean, they like to relax.
Yeah.
Well, I
Uh,
mean,
what's going on with these massages?
I
It's you would
I
listen.
struggle with.
All right, Watson did it. You saw the penalty he kind of took for it, and he's never been near the same, even though he got paid. I mean, maybe this is it. Tucker's like, listen, Watson got a 5 year, fully guaranteed contract.
Yeah, but I think Tucker's are from when he was younger, like a long time ago.
Oh,
First few years, which
you think I didn't see that part.
I struggle with the whole thing, man. If you're an NFL player
Right,
and both of them were young, right?
right,
I don't know what kind of money Tucker had, but I'm sure he had some sort of. I mean, he made more than I do, right?
right.
So if you're an NFL player, and you're young and you're rich, not rich, whatever, rich enough, just I mean, you're young. Just go look for chicks at a bar or
Yeah,
something.
we'll do
I
just
just
fine.
don't.
People will
Yeah,
recognize you,
I
and
am
that's Justin
sure
Tucker.
you're gonna be able to pull in a couple without having to just be the creepy massage guy.
Right.
Like I just can't. Like I've said this before. I would if someone said to me, "Hey, Deshaun Watson he's young and he's rich. All he does is go out and look for chicks, and that's all I'd be like, oh, I mean, he's young and rich.
Right.
Like, I think there's
Yeah.
a
We were young
zillion
and
young
not
guys.
rich, and that was pretty much our game plan too.
Correct. So, like, that part doesn't make me think you're weird.
Right.
Oh, the whole like massage stuff and just like that makes you're weird. There's underlying problems to me,
Right.
and I just can't. it's tough. I mean, listen, Robert Kraft. I know you're in you're in a
He's
whole different ball.
billionaire. He kind of did the same thing. So
whole different ball game, I guess. The young, the massage guys, I just don't get it. And then I haven't even looked enough, but what I don't know what made the story just come out, but they were like, essentially he was like banned at different massage places, and I'm just like, it's just borderline creepy. I mean, I don't know. No, you're right. It's not borderline. It is.
You're right. I mean, these guys, they're in their mid to early 20s, and they're pretty famous people you'd recognize out. I'm sure if they just went to a couple bars, but maybe they don't want to work that hard. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there has to be some sick fantasy or something to what's going on, because, like I said, I just go to the bar, rent out the whole bar, invite a girl and 10 of her friends back with a bunch of your friends to your place, and then everyone's there willingly or whatever, as opposed to just I don't know, my groin hurts and a little bit closer.
He's a kicker. At least he's a kicker. His groin could hurt. I mean,
I don't.
He was awful this year for a stretch. I'm not saying
he was at this point.
I mean, before all this stuff got released, I'm just saying he was bad for a stretch.
He was, for sure. Yeah. I'm just maybe Cleveland's trying to.
It would make sense.
Get a monopoly. A monopoly
on free Kraft as your owner. Just bring.
I'll tell you, if I work for the athletic training staff in Cleveland and they make that move, I'm out. Trade. I'm asking for a trade.
Right.
We got four trainers that want to be traded.
Right.
Oh, so. Yeah, I mean, back to the quarterback stuff. It's going to be fascinating, right? You got the draft coming up. I see Sanders. I mean, that guy, I see him in mocks as high as 2 all the time, and I've seen ones where he fell to Seattle at like 18.
I'm not a big Sanders guy. I've heard. I just don't know. I don't see him at 2. I think he'll be the 3rd quarterback taken. I think Jackson Dart will be in front of him. I think it will go Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, and then Sanders.
Interesting. I've seen
Sanders is not as mobile as as you would think. He had a career that, even though they had a dominant offense, he threw a lot of interceptions. He got sacked a ton. Like one of the most sacked quarterbacks in D1 football, and he's on this. He's got studs everywhere on offense. The guy's getting sacked all the time. I know that offensive line and all this other stuff, but I don't know.
Plus,
you think he's going to be the 3rd. He'll be drafted in the 1st round. These guys always
they
grind. He'll be a first-round talent, probably top 20, but somebody will trade up to get him. But I don't think he'll be the 3rd quarterback taken. But there's just gaps there that some of these teams aren't going to get quarterback, whether it be the Giants or some of these other teams. So they're going to need to fill with somebody. So it's going to be Russell Wilson's in the Fields. They're just going to get, there'll be retreads over and over again until.
And some of them are okay. Some of them I don't mind the idea, but I'm not. I mean, it'll be super interesting to see. I mean. Right now, if I'm looking for a QB, I'm absolutely calling up Justin Fields.
Right.
I mean, he's young. He's super athletic. Accuracy could use some work. I don't know if he can even improve it. But at the same time, I got a number that I'm not going above, right? Like, I'm not.
Right. You get Fields probably for one of the best prices out of all of them. And then you see Baker he struggled at the start of his career. And then you see him play great in Tampa, and you hope maybe you can get something like that out of Fields. With a new look, just Baker was on 4 teams, and it finally finally.
And it's not like it went bad for Fields in Pittsburgh, right? Like,
I would say getting benched after 4 games is not great.
But. You're
right. He didn't play terrible when he was in. I think his record was 3-1 when he got benched. So
I mean,
I know what you're saying, but being benched is also not what his goal was. I'm sure.
No, I agree with that. I mean, obviously, but I think, like I said, it's not like he went out and was a complete disaster, right? Like he did what they wanted him to do,
Right.
and in the end, I don't think Pittsburgh was any better off with Wilson than they were with Justin Fields.
Right.
I think they're both pretty solid quarterbacks, right? That are not a total train wreck, but they're not. If you got to have them throw 45 times,
Right.
you're
You're
probably
not going to win.
But he's more athletic than Wilson and he's younger. So if the price is right, I would be willing to work with him because it's really hard when you're drafting 15 to, unless you're willing to just mortgage it, the farm to move up. It's hard to get a quarterback. You end up in, Buffalo Bills mediocre drought land. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I also I don't want the circus that's going to come with Sanders, and it's going to be whether you like it or not, right? Like,
Right.
There's no way that
No,
there's
DM's
no
gonna be
way.
speaking for him, and if something goes wrong or they're not getting
Sure,
enough playing time, he doesn't start right away.
yeah, and I just feel the reporters are going to ask.
Well, he's already talking trash about Cam Ward.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just,
And I think and I'm not sure if Dion has the has it in him to just sit there and say next question 7 times when they ask him, and he's going to be asked all the
right.
time, right? So like, I don't know if I want that. I mean, listen, I guess if you draft him and he's out of control good and everything goes well, maybe there's not so much that you have to ask about, but that's just not realistic for a young quarterback. And I just don't want the circus that's going to come with it. I'm kind of a Colin Cowherd kind of guy, right? Like I want my quarterback to be an act professional. I don't want it to be a circus. He always talks about if you have a backwards hat on,
Right.
he's out to
Right.
like it, right? I don't know if I'm that far, but like I said, there's gonna be a circus that's gonna come with him, and I'm not sure that that's something I would be dying to go with. But we might have to talk off the podcast about a Sanders Jackson Dart bet.
Oh, I'll bet you there. I'll bet it. I'll definitely bet you.
All right.
I think he's going to go two. I think he's the second quarterback taken. So we'll definitely talk about it, and before the draft, we'll post our bet. But I think people are going to recognize that maybe there is a headache with Sanders, and I also believe that his sacks and all these other things are going to come into play. These combines, you never know what happens. People fall in love with skills
combine,
that are
yeah.
Who cares about?
Let's-
But he jumped super high. You're like, well, it's great. He's a quarterback. I don't care how high he jumps. But you never know what the combine's going to bring. But I'm still going to go with Jackson Dart, and I like that bet already. So we'll see. We'll see when it gets closer. But I definitely like that bet.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers plays? Do you think someone signs him?
I think he's the least of the three that is likely to play. I think he is a headache. I know it sounded like he begged to stay in New York.
Like
he wanted to stay there, but they didn't want him to go on, a couple shows, and they wanted him to settle him down, and he's just not going to be able to do that.
He's a pain in the ass. Yeah. Go to your darkness retreat and just.
No, I think he's the least likely. I also think he's the most talented of the three, to be honest with you. I know he didn't play great. This is my opinion, but out of those three, if I had to pick, and there was no extra, it was just QB play. Yeah. I think Aaron Rodgers still has a little bit left out there. He's still very accurate, but I don't think he plays this year.
Yeah, well, I mean we know it's hard to get rid of these Green Bay quarterbacks. They just stick around
forever. They do. I mean, teams like anybody who is like, I heard Indy, they thought about taking him. They have billboards go up. Don't take Rodgers. Pittsburgh, billboards, please. No Rodgers. It's not like you would think a teams that need a quarterback or feel like a quarterback away, they would like, oh, Rodgers. But they saw the circus. They don't want it.
Yeah, dude, he sucks. He's just annoying. He's just annoying. He sucks. He wants to control things, but then he just immediately says that he doesn't, right? Like he's on all the shows. Like, oh god, I can't take him anymore. I hope he goes away.
I agree.
I want to do some bet recaps.
Let's do some bet recaps. I got off the schneid here, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Big step up. You had let's see, I wrote these down. You had Green Bay. This wasn't where you got off the snide.
No.
You had Green Bay getting, I think, were they getting 7.5?
Yeah.
They lost by 13. So that one didn't help you, but I told you I was confident you were at one of the two, right? Home college basketball. St. Peter's. They actually laid the wood down. They won by 13. I think it was 65-52.
Right.
So that's a win. You didn't even need the points, but they were getting a couple, right?
They were getting no, they're actually giving, I think, in that game, giving 4. So I did need
4,
yeah.
4.5 or something. All right, so that brings you to 1-5 off the schneid.
That's it.
I split. I had my home team. I was rooting for USA. I wound up winning that, which was good. And then Hawaii took. I mean, they were favored by like 11.5. They won by 2. What a disappointment! They suck. I still love Hawaii.
The idea of flying to Hawaii is, I guess, not as tragic as you thought.
Yeah, maybe they went more in advance, but that keeps me at 3-3. So we got you got 2 bets coming up right here.
I do.
All right.
I'll go with my NBA bet first. I have this is for tomorrow night. I got San Antonio minus 2.5. They're playing the Suns. The Suns have just been a disappointment all year. Durant and Booker, they got all this talent, but it has gone nowhere. They're going on the road to San Antonio. I'll give them the 2.5 and
Wemby.
Yeah, Wemby. So
that guy's incredible.
Yeah,
he's so. I watching him. It's so crazy how tall and skinny he is.
I know. It's like Durant. I remember seeing Durant for the first time, and I was like, this guy's just going to get muscled all over the place. And he's just too thin. But
I know,
Durant's obviously one of the greatest scorers of all time, and I was wrong about him. And Wembley is just a taller version of him.
Taller. I mean, it's incredible. It's pretty crazy. So, all right. So you got that, and your second one.
Oh, this is not going to be popular. I'm going to go with Canada. It's minus 105 for money line. Listen, I think USA came out, obviously, just with raw emotion in that game. We talked about it earlier. Yeah. And I just think Canada's going to be ready for it. There's no way they're just going to score 1 goal again. And I know their goaltending's weak, but they got a great team. And I'm taking Canada minus 105.
Makar back in the lineup helps. I mean, that guy just he's all over. He creates. He's. I think that was definitely a fortunate break for the U.S. in the previous game, but it did not take him long in that last game for him to make a big.
Very unpopular. I don't see a lot of people taking that bet, but listen, taking
it. Batting is about
with your heart.
That's right. Batting is about money. There's plenty of times that I've bet. I mean, when the Sabres were really, really.
That was the bet.
Yeah, we had. I made like $1,100.
Right.
I bought a huge TV because I was like, this is the worst team I've ever seen in pro. And then they went and they fired their coach and they ruined it on me. So, I got 2 bets too. This one I can't even believe I'm going to take it. College basketball. Rutgers versus Washington. For like 3-4 years, whenever I get into college basketball and I bet, somehow I land up on Rutgers. I don't even know why. Like they're like below 500 right now, and I know they have 2 guys that are expected to be like really, really high draft picks in in the NBA.
Right.
Why you are below 500, I don't know. But they are playing a Washington team that's not that great. And and it's on the road. But Rutgers, I think, was already out that way. They just have a bunch of talent. Ace Bailey is a really good guy. Dylan Harper is part of that, the Harper family of basketball players, and they're getting 2.5. I don't like taking road college basketball teams.
No, you don't.
And Rutgers just burns me a lot, but whatever. I'll get burned again. Next one is home, right? Kentucky versus Vanderbilt. Kentucky is giving 5.5. It's at Rupp Arena. They are super deep. They have like 6 guys that get into double figures, and I like the depth of that team. And Rupp Arena is obviously a really historic, iconic place. Tough to go into.
Gonna be loud.
I think Kentucky's coming off a loss. Vandy's coming off a 2. I'm going to lay the 5 at home. I just think that environment, and as we kind of get in March Madness mode, that I think that's going to be a tough place for Vandy to keep it close.
I like it.
All right.
Try to get about 500 for you, and I'm going to try to get to 500 here.
That's right. Yeah, I'm 3-3. I'm hoping I could win both of these and get in the positive. So. Last topic should be a fun one. I had asked you the other day about this topic, about some memorable sports games that we went to. Let's go through a couple. We'll see how we're doing on time here. Maybe we have to continue this segment because I actually have one that I had to leave off anyway. So.
All right.
You want to go first or second?
No, I'll go first.
All right.
I was thinking about this. I've been to so many Bills games, like every Bills game, and I've been to a lot of great Bills games. I've been to the greatest comeback of all time. I was at the New England Patriots playoff game where Allen was a perfect game.
Oh man,
but
that's crazy.
These were great games and great events to be at, but they're not my favorite events I've ever been to. I'll go start with I was at the Final Four in New Orleans for when Syracuse won it with LaMelo. It was, to me, I just look at it as, you have the Saturday game, and then you have partying in New Orleans for a couple days, and then you have the Monday night game for the championship, and that was an iconic game, and it was just an amazing event. I was almost arrested for public drunkenness. They told me I had to move or I was going to be arrested. And I said, I can't move. I can't move. I don't know what to tell. I can't stand. I'm not going anywhere. I want to move. My heart says move because I don't want to be arrested. But I couldn't. But luckily I had some people there that got me in a cab and threw me and got me back to the hotel. But the overall weekend and the experience down there on Bourbon Street, and just that I was never a huge Syracuse fan, but I borrowed some Cuse clothes while we were down there and got into it, and it was just awesome. Bourbon Street was just nuts with it was Marquette, and it was Syracuse and Kansas, and it was Kansas and Syracuse's final, and it was just unbelievable. Just the hype going into it, the whole weekend hyped up after the Saturday, and the two teams playing each other. It was so much fun. It was an amazing event to be at.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember you telling that story, and it was super funny.
Right.
I think, again, with this topic, it was like, there's great games and then there's like great memories and stuff
Right.
too. So it could go, they could go, both ways. I will go with, since you went with one with a bunch of buddies. I'll go with one that we were at together with a bunch of buddies, and that was that Red Sox Tigers game in Detroit.
Right.
it was just a regular season baseball game, and it was supposed to be just hey, let's, some of the guys go. One of our buddies is a big Red Sox fan. We could catch the game. August 20th, 2016.
Right.
We're going to see. That was like Poppy's last season, and they were doing all his tributes, and they like gave him a special award. And from the moment we got there, it turned into a chaotic night, right?
Right. It was
like we were staying in Windsor on the Canadian side, and we were taking the bus over because we knew we were going to be doing some drinking, and the bus when we go into customs and we all get off, guys are getting detained. Right. We don't know what the heck's going on. We get to the stadium and the game starts. I had to look this up for the times because I didn't. Game started in an 80-minute rain delay, and it was just cold and wet.
Right.
And we started drinking.
What did we do during that 80-minute rain delay?
Not a lot to do other than get some big slushy alcoholic hurricanes.
Right.
And then we doubled them up to make them extra hurricane-y.
Well, if I remember this right,
yeah,
somebody who was buying the hurricanes didn't know there was alcohol that came in the hurricane. Just, I don't know what he was thinking. So just made sure he said with alcohol or added alcohol. So it was double the shots in the hurricanes, which, so that was pregame. That before the game even started.
That's right. 80 minutes. The game starts. I mean, we had multiple hurricanes, and we're wet and we're cold, and game starts. Third inning, I had to look. I was surprised that this was a third inning because at one point, a couple of us had to sit down because we had too many hurricanes.
Right.
But in the third inning, James McCann hits a home run ball out into way out in the outfield. We were sitting in the very first row, right?
Right.
And I remember before the game, I told you guys, I'm like, listen, if any ball comes out here, I'm getting it. I'm like, you see those videos of like, people get it, they're giving it to the kid, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be the opposite. Like, I'm getting this ball. And sure enough, the ball comes right about to where we are. I'm basically partially sleeping already.
I would say asleep.
And then I wake up like mid home run, mid ball in the air, and I was just bullying people to get the ball, which I got the ball.
Right.
Got the ball. Game went on in the fifth inning. There's a 71-minute rain delay. Pouring. I mean, absolutely pouring. 75% of the stadium's gone. Like, people are just leaving. Right. They're done. What a miserable night. We rough through that, have some more hurricanes.
Do you know another event we did during that break?
Yeah, we had to do the as hard as you could pitch.
Fastest pitch.
Yeah, we decided to do the fastest pitch. I mean, we're all
just
thinking we're like Justin Verlander up there. Do you remember? I remember I was the last one to go. I think everyone that went was at 55 or 56 miles per hour, just blazing. Right. And I remember, I'm like, dude, I am going up there and I am just going to rip this thing. You got 3 balls for whatever we paid.
Yeah.
I threw 1 ball. I think I was 55, and I'm like, I'm done. Right. My arm's going to fall off. It was like instantly on fire, and we just walked away. I was like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. 8th, 9th inning comes where there's like hardly anybody there. We have ushers yelling at us because, I don't know, someone complained about our language or behavior or something. But overall, it was just a great night. Wound up going back. Next morning, we're sitting there just all trying to recover. And sure enough, we're watching me get the home run ball on the MLB Network.
Right. That was unbelievable.
On SportsCenter, you just see me just in my Barry Sanders jersey because I'm in Detroit, and that's the only Detroit thing I got. And just hilarious. Just super, super fun night with a bunch of friends. And I mean, every year, whenever that Facebook memory comes up, I just cry laughing. So.
Yeah, we're gonna have to post it on the Facebook page if you got that link.
Yeah, I definitely have it. So,
Right. It's awesome. It's
all
unbelievable.
right.
You can almost tell
You
like you're
got one more?
waking up and just like
Yeah.
in a daze,
I-
like a
Sitting,
ball coming, and you're just think it's maybe landing right on you, but you had a little bit more time than you thought. It
yeah.
was unbelievable.
It was like four people down, and I just basically I'm laying on the dugout thing, and I'm like, I'm getting the ball. I'm getting it.
Right.
I just it was like Hulk Hogan strength, and I just got the ball. Still got it upstairs.
Good. Good.
All right, you got one more?
Yeah, I got one more. I got one more. Like I think like, basically we're saying is these events that we go to, they're always better with friends and who you go with. And mine's another weekend event, and it involves you and a couple of other friends, and we went to Boston for the Boston Marathon that your brother was running in,
Yeah,
and we went
yeah.
to go see him. But we got there Saturday, and it was a beautiful Saturday morning, and we got some drinks, and we did not have tickets to the Red Sox game that day, but the next day it looked like it was going to be a miserable day. So we decided, hey, let's get tickets to the game, which we did. It was awesome. We had a great time. We met a bunch of people, had a few drinks, went out after. I remember our one friend. I don't know if you went out that night. I think you did. And my one friend thought he could get to the oldest bar in Boston, and this was because he played the video game Assassin's Creed. So he thought that he memorized the map, and so we just followed him around Boston for way longer than any human should follow a person who says, "I memorized a map from a game." Uh, so after an hour, we just went to a bar, got hammered that night, woke up. I remember it was snowing. You remember we
Yeah.
decided to go to the game. We decided to go. We had tickets. We bought tickets. We have to go.
I was go. Yeah, we. I remember. I was a pulley or someone was like, "We're. I don't know if I could go." And I'm
Right.
like, "Dude, we paid for these tickets. I'm
Right.
going. I'm
Beautiful
going to."
seats too. Right on like 10 rows up from the first baseline. They were great.
Yeah.
You know, you go to Fenway and you got to go. It snowed the entire game. The
Horrible.
entire game it snowed. I mean, it was unbelievable. The day before it had to be 70 degrees for the game. The
Yeah.
next day it is snowing. But it was I mean it was awesome. We had a great time. We go out afterwards, get obliterated again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wake up the next day for the Boston Marathon. It is now if it's 40 degrees, that's warm. It is 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts and
Pouring rain.
pouring rain,
Pouring.
pouring rain. And I remember I have an office there, so I sat in the office watching people go by. But I know you were at the finish line, obviously waiting for your brother,
Yeah.
and we all got together afterwards. But it like the weekend just in full. I know there's a lot of sporting events in that one weekend, but the
Yeah.
overall weekend was just unbelievable.
It was crazy. I mean, I think that was the coldest ever Boston
Right.
Marathon, and like I'm super pumped because I got to support my brother who runs in it, and it's just, I mean, running marathons is just
That's
crazy.
the
It
dumbest.
doesn't even calculate in my brain
No.
how hard that. And I'm sitting there like I have like a cold beer, and I'm watching like people with no legs and on however they do it, and on the bikes, and
Right.
like all people that are just so driven, and it's just remarkable, and it's just such a cool event. And then to see him afterward, even like the people were like struggling, like so many people were needing like medical attention because it was just so
Oh.
cold and pushing your body so
Like I
hard.
said, I'm sure they've run in cold, or they've run in rain, or they've run
Yeah,
in
that
wind,
was
but it was all the above. How they ran 26 miles in, I'm sure at some point it's a headwind of 30 miles an hour the whole time, with rain just in your face the entire time.
yeah,
It was so bad. It's 40 degrees with 40-mile-an-hour gusts and downpour for the entire race.
yeah.
How they made it,
That was one fun weekend. I mean,
but it was a fun weekend.
we were at. I remember we were at that one bar across from Fenway, and then we went to the bar in Fenway,
Right,
and
the
like,
Myron Fenway,
oh,
yeah. I might have started a little argument with a couple people there on accident, but
well, that's
they,
what makes it
no one
fun,
likes
though.
when you poke them in the chest. That's what I learned.
Definitely memorable. I had two more, but we're gonna do one, and then we can revisit this again.
Sounds good.
This one is, it's memorable, and most people in Buffalo will remember it. But to say that I have a awesome, I remember it, but to say I saw it is not true. So that's kind of not good. February 22nd, 2007, the Sabres are playing the Senators,
Okay.
right? That's when the Sabres were good. And that's the Drury game, right? Chris Neal just scums Drury. And the Senators were up 2-0. Sabres come back 3-2, right? Like, great environment. Sabres games were packed. Like, the younger Buffalo
people don't even know how great
don't
Sabres
even know.
were.
It was so exciting. I was there with my wife, and I am like Mr. Like, I don't like to leave games early. I don't like to go down and beat the lines to try and get a beer or a hot dog because I want to watch the game.
Right.
I paid to come and watch the game. So we're sitting there watching the game, and I said to my wife, I'm like, I don't feel great, man. I think, like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Right.
Like, I'm like, I really don't want to go, but I gotta go. So it's like, the middle of the period, so it's quiet. I go, I'm like, I have to go into the bathroom and do, some stuff.
Right.
And as I'm in the bathroom, totally quiet, stomach is just killing me. They're Jeanneret announcing the game. They play it in there, so like you could hear what's going on. And Drury gets hit. The next, there's all that arguing and everyone's going nuts. And then, I had to look this up. The Senators sent out Alfredson, Heatley, and Spezza.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And the Sabres sent out Peters, Adam Mayer, and Coletta.
Slightly different skill levels.
That's right. And it turns out that was Coletta's first game, they said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
And, what happened next is history, right? Bench clearing, brawl, fights all over. I mean, it's just crazy. The place is going bonkers, just nuts. And I'm in the bathroom, just like, I feel like I want to like go out there. I hear Jeanneret just going crazy. And I'm like, I'm like, I got to get out there. I got to get out there. I basically missed the whole thing. I come back to the seats and I'm like,
gotta be.
Yeah, it's just everyone's going nuts. Yeah. My wife is like, are you okay? She's like, she's like, yeah, she's trying to make me feel good.
Right,
she asked something like, it really wasn't that exciting or that good or something, right? I mean, her eyes, like, she's like all intense. Everyone's going nuts. No. The whole place is going nuts. And I was just like, well, I mean, I guess I was here, but I mean, I really wasn't here. I was in I think like a blue stall.
Right. That's one of those memories for being at a great game, but just not actually.
Yeah, and I mean, it was funny because me and my wife, we went through a stretch where we hit so many of the great Sabres games we just happened to be at.
Right.
And that one was wild, super. I mean, I still watched the replays, and I was just like, God, that is so awesome. And I was like, I mean, I was there, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
What was Ottawa thinking? What did they think we were going to do on that play?
Well, because they were on the road, so they got to put their line out first.
No, I understand that. Well, I guess they just never assumed that.
Correct. I don't know. They must have just thought that it was over, right? It was over and done with, but it obviously wasn't. So
that's awesome.
Oh man, so I definitely have some more that I can add on, but we will revisit this at another one. So for now, we're gonna sign off.
Right.
Let's go USA. I mean, I know that's not helping your back.
For Canada, I mean, I am maybe a little bit with my wallet, but if they lose, I'll be all right.
You'll be all right. And listen, sometimes that's not the worst strategy, right? Like you're kind of the like, yeah, if I put this in, they win, I'm happy. They lose, I got something. So, all right, sounds good. That'll wrap up episode 5. Make sure you are subscribing. Please share with family and friends. I told Tom I'll get you some numbers. I know we've been getting some added numbers and subscribers, which is super cool.
Right.
A lot of fun stuff. Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. So until our next episode, go USA.
USA.
All right.
Yeah.